Okay. I've been on mute the whole time. That is so cool. That is so typical. Hello. Welcome to Supercharge Fridays. I can see that LinkedIn is working. Thank you. Thank you for joining 99 weeks of Supercharge Fridays. This is so cool. It's a beautiful, wet, snowy day here in Brussels. So if you're watching, come in and say hello. Thank you. It happens to be a birthday. I happen to be the birthday girl, so I appreciate that you're here. And I want to talk about getting older today because we have all of us have a very unique relationship when it comes to getting older and how we look at the event, which is our birthday, right? We all have a unique. First of all, I don't know if I'm going to keep this on. It just, yeah, I just felt like being ridiculous because why not, right? Why not? So I want to talk about age, and I want us to learn something together about age and experience and the whole thing, that whole sort of life thing. It's going to be a little philosophical today, but I'm also going to see how this can be practical for you. All right. So thank you for joining. Appreciate the wishes. You guys are awesome that you're here. Really, really appreciate. So yeah, there's so much to talk about, and I see people from around the world, and I want you guys to contribute because I'm going to ask you some questions today. So what I want to do is, first of all, start with my one of my favorite quotes of all time. You know, who doesn't like quotes, right? Who doesn't love a good quote? Unfortunately, I don't know who said this one. Blessed are those who give without remembering and receive without forgetting. So the fact that you're here, it's amazing. I don't forget. I don't forget kindness. I don't remember who I help. So I love this way of living. So this is one thing that I think is always a good reminder, especially when we count our blessings. And appreciate it. Thank you. And I also got some lovely presents in the on in my post today. So really appreciative of the friends. So I want to talk about, the whole thing of, oh God, it's another birthday. We've been there. Okay, it doesn't matter how old you are, we've been there. I want to talk about that attitude. Now, we all know someone, and I'm going to get serious for a second. Okay, we all know someone who has passed away at our age, and we also think back, you know about parents and grandparents and how old they were. Do you know what I mean? Like, they passed away, and it's like, I'm going to be my grandmother's age when she passed away. So let's not forget the blessings, and let's not forget, if you're lucky enough to have parents around, somebody made a trip to the hospital that day, or they had you in the ambulance, or in a taxi, or at home. I don't know. It was a chaotic day, and there you came into the world. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it. That is nothing short of miraculous, right? So please, 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 let us not take it for granted. There are so many people we know. We all know someone, whether it's a famous person or it's someone in our own life, who has unfortunately passed away at our age, right? And the fact that you get to be another year on this planet is pretty awesome. So if there's nothing else, like, oh, my friends didn't wish me, I didn't get enough presents, I didn't get a phone call at midnight, I still haven't heard back from that recruiter, forget that stuff. Big picture thinking, BPT, big picture thinking, right? All right, that was my little rant. And I see family members here as well. Thank you, mommy. Hey, Sam. Lovely. Lovely to see friends here. You guys are amazing. So appreciate that you're here. Now, I want to ask you a few questions. I want to talk to you about people that you have seen in your city or in your country who hit their peak later in life. Later in life, right? And I want you to think about them. And I've written show business, but it's more than that, right? Whenever you Google this, right, you typically hear like North American, Anglo-Saxon examples, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, honestly, I don't see any young pictures. Have you guys ever seen any young pictures of Judy Dench? You can't. Like, I don't think she was very well known at the time, right? She only signed on like big names like Shakespeare in Love, I think, when she was 60. I want to talk about getting older. And our topic today is actually how the best is yet to come. And that is so important because we live in a world that's obsessed with youth. Obsessed. Okay. And I particularly want to shout out to my Indian peeps here. Because I was searching, I was doing a little bit of research and I didn't honestly spend hours and hours on it. But I was looking for entrepreneurs who started later in life. There are not that many, I'm sorry to say. And in that, there are very few women. So maybe they're there, but they're not talked about, right? They're not in the media. And honestly, if you're not on social media, the world we live in, if you're not on social media, you don't exist. Because instead of coming up in searches like the results, but my result wasn't coming up in the searches. So I don't know if you guys have experienced it. Instead, what I was getting in the results were questions like top young entrepreneurs, top entrepreneurs who peaked before 30. You know, our obsession with 30, 30 before 30, or top 30 or top 40, top 40, below 40, like after 40 nothing happens, like I don't know. Oh my gosh. And if you are in your 40s, you know what I mean. This is exhausting to hear. There's only a limit, like after a while I can't ignore it anymore, right? So one of the things I want to talk about very, very briefly is, so I want you to share examples of people that you know who have done well later in life. And I know this is a questionable thing, right? And I really think, Kevin, you're right. I do think we're getting better with time. So thank you, Suhas. Uh, Thank you for joining. So if you guys have examples, let me know what examples you have. I see. This is by Elizabeth Bibesco. I can always count on you to help out with that. Risto, thank you so much. I have your mug right here. Beautiful gift. Uh, so some examples I can think of people who actually struggled a lot and they were basically written off. Now I want to talk about show business for just a half a minute. And the reason I want to talk about it is it's a very brutal industry, right? You're told no more times than you're told yes. So you learn resilience very quickly in life. I had a person on my live stream. It was back in June, Matt Warzel, and he was an actor for a little bit of time. He did these small little roles. And he'd be like, 3,000 people would get the call, would apply for one tiny role. Out of those 3,000, 200 were invited to show their picture. From those 200, 10 interview, and then one, right? Brutal. I think rejection is difficult everywhere. I think it's pretty competitive everywhere, but show business is one of those places where you are told on your face, sorry, leave. You're not going to get a call. So, to particularly for women, right? After a certain age, you're written off. So, to do so well, Judy Dench, Samuel L. Jackson, hello, Pulp Fiction. He was like beyond, I think he was 46 or 47 when he got that role, and he'd been through prison and all that. Great example. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. Everyone knows the story. I'm not going to repeat it. I also want to see some examples from other parts of the world. That's why I want you to share because we keep hearing the same examples, from coming from difficulty, etc. But we need more. Our palate needs a little bit more, you know, masala, spice. Stan Lee, if you're familiar with comics, right? I mean, he was beaten up left, right, and center, and told you're not going to do it. And so, when you think of people who make comics, you don't tend to think of someone who made their first comic at 39. That's Stan Lee, right? I think I'm getting older. I don't remember. I think he's the one who did all of the. Was it Marvel or DC? My comic fans are going to hate me for saying this. Was it Marvel or DC? Let me know in the comments. I think it was Marvel. I think it was Marvel Comics. Um, yeah, compared to wine, right? Lovely. I love the comments coming in. Thank you so much. I consider myself a very strong. You know what, Meenakshi? I want to talk about that for a second. It's 7 a.m. That's okay, Kevin. Never too early to talk about wine. Uh, Henry Ford as well. I believe was in his 40s when the first model was made, right? When he started thinking about cars. One of my favorite examples is Betty White. Who knows the Golden Girls, right? You will not see many pictures of Betty White in her youth because I think her first couple of roles were when she was 51 years old, which is also, like I said, in a brutal business like show business, that is amazing. It is not only in Hollywood. Oh, no, no. Indians, please give me. There are very few examples, by the way. So let's not kid ourselves, but they're there. And if they could do it, it's possible, right? Boman Irani. If you are not in India and you don't know who I'm talking about, please take a screenshot of these names and check them out. They are amazing actors. Like Boman Irani is downright hilarious and very, very talented. Amrish Puri, Mr. India, we who's not grown up and who doesn't remember Mr. India. And Kiran Kher is also a very interesting example because she also got, I think, her big break um, in the show business era, like later in life, right? When we compare, so many examples there. And what about not just show business, what about business? There are quite a few examples there. I wanted to highlight Colonel Sanders, who's responsible for KFC, who had a string of what we call failures, right, before he set up the first KFC franchise and then so on. Falguni Nair is a very interesting one, right? She started Nika. I think she was already 51. Nika is, it's a place which aggregates beauty and makeup in India, and it's just gone public. So you can say, how do you define peak? For me, it's that sweet spot of fame and fortune, right? When you know you've hit big time. So what I'm trying to say is, it's never too late. When it is too late is when you're dead. And Meenakshi, I love that comment. I quit my job also at 39 and started everything after 40. And that is pretty amazing. Thank you. Thank you. What a gift. What a gift. Amazing. And I want to ask you a few things. I'm not going to be online for too long, right? I don't want to take up a lot of your time, and I've got stuff to do as well. But I want to ask you about thinking. I want you to think about those type of examples and those names. When we think of like these kind of names like Hollywood and Harry Potter, they sound really great, but they don't necessarily sound accessible, right? It's been a while since they've been successful, and they're also very far away. And I don't just mean geographically, but also the conceptually, like the way they've hit success. So look at examples around you. They don't have to be that far. Somebody who pivoted later in their career, right? I can say Ronald Reagan. Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor at like 55. Sure. In some places, I think it's a little bit more acceptable. In other places, it's less. Now, just bear with me. I want to geek out with you for a minute. Okay. And this is something that my husband and I were doing together yesterday. Who likes geeking out? Hands up. Tell me in the comments who likes geeking out. Who wants to talk about ageism and age discrimination? FC Kohli, Sam Manekshaw. Wonderful. FC Kohli, Sam Manekshaw. Great examples. Thank you for sharing. Oh, you kidding me? I love Sarvana Bhavan. Oh, that's one of the things I miss the most in COVID-19. Like I like literally 2 birthdays ago in 2019, I have a picture of me. I'm very happy with myself, and that's in Sarvana Bhavan. People are like, oh my god, like on your birthday, you could go to any of these fancy places. I'm like, I want to go to Savannah. In case you guys don't know, Savannah Bhavan is the closest, it's one of the few Indian chains in the world. And they particularly have, meals that are had in South India, right? South Indian cuisine, which is amazing. Okay, I'm seeing lovely examples. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm loving all of that. I saw something written about Colonel Sanders. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's so many examples, right? And we don't have to think about them going later in life. Joe Biden's a great example. Everyone talked about Joe Biden because he just didn't make it and he kept going again and again, right? If they can do it, you can do it. They're not that special. Okay? Okay, Jennifer. Hey. So let's geek out together. Okay. Look. Let me take out that banner so you can see what I'm doing. All right. Now listen. Let's spend a little time on our our x and y axis, okay, about what this diagram is about. This diagram is about the advantage. On the y axis, you have the advantage of stating years of experience, and the x-axis is your number of years of experience. Now, your years and experience and your age are pretty much the same thing, right? The more the age, the more the experience. Okay, so let's geek out for a sec. Now, when you're okay, this is not mirror, it's a mirror image. This is confusing. So, when you're starting out, right? When you're starting out in your career, you've got that thing that people say is the novice penalty, right? Makes sense, right? You're too young. Yeah, there. You're too young. You can't do this. And then when you get into the 10 between 10 to 20 years, you're typically at that place where you're at that growing phase, right? You're expert at something, you're getting very skilled at something. And then when you reach the, I would say, 15 to 25-year mark, I'm generalizing, right? But we tend to plateau. And you'll know where you are when you think about this. It's a bell curve. It's kind of a bell curve, right? When you reach that 20 to 25 year 15 to 25-year mark, you kind of plateau, right? It just stays where it is. And then something happens when you reach 30. You're suddenly deemed too senior. Where is it? Yeah, too senior. And that is where you see the, oh God, there, ageism. And why is that? I'm not going to talk about how it should be. Okay. I'm a pragmatist. We can sing and dance and cry till the cows come home. Unless we are hiring managers ourselves, we can make those decisions and we can change. Till then, you got to play the game. So I'm not going to talk about ageism today because that's a topic in itself. And by the way, if you go to Google and you just write my name and you write hashtag ageism, there's, I don't know, 20 to 30 content pieces about fighting ageism and making it work for you. Okay. But what I do want to talk about today is you got to understand the strategy. Nobody can tell you how to do this because your context is unique. You could be in that plateau category, you could be in the young novice penalty category, or you could be in that too senior category. So there is no one size fits all. What you do want to know is you want to know where you are in the bell curve, and you want to develop and implement a strategy which is relevant to you. So, simple example, if you're in the novice penalty part, you want to showcase other experiences that you've had which are relevant, and that's why the company should hire you. Okay, my tea is getting cold. Cheers, whatever you're drinking. If you're not drinking, go get a drink. Anything. I don't judge if it's 8 in the morning or 8 at night. Cheers. If you're in the middle part, I can tell you that is the time you don't get that many questions, right? That 5 to 15, maybe 15 to 25. The problem starts after 25, right? I'm not mincing my words. Let's not mince our words. It is what it is. It's massive age discrimination. Now, there is where you want to talk about how you're still relevant. You don't have to overprove it, but there is a fantastic article on LinkedIn by who happens to be my coach, this amazing person called Dorothy Dalton, who's also been on my podcast. Very, very intelligent person. She's written an article called What is Your Teachability Score? Okay. And I can see there's a lot of comments. I promise I'm going to come to the comments. I want to talk about this. Uh, Basically, the what is the issue we have here, right? The issue we have when you reach 30 years experience, and there was a very interesting article also a few days ago by Bob McIntosh. I'm going to tag him as well. And it was like, should you mention that you have X number of years experience if you're, very senior, or should you not? So it was very interesting. I found it fascinating. Some people said, what a waste of space. Please don't mention it. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm not disagreeing just for the sake of it and, stir the hornet's nest as much as I enjoy it. It's not about that. There are certain professions I think it matters. Like, if I want to hire a doctor or a lawyer, I want that person to show me how many years they worked. If I hire a coach, by the way, and I say this for my clients as well, I mean, please be comfortable with the person you're hiring. And I don't want that. I don't want to be the first client of that coach. I don't want you to, I don't want to be your guinea pig. I don't want you to experiment on me. So years of experience matter. Now, they don't always translate to wisdom. We all know that person who's getting older, but they're not getting wiser. We all know that person. Okay. In fact, you would think their progression is happening like backwards, like regression is going on. Okay. But this is very interesting. Now, her that in the article, what it says, and I highly recommend you check it out, because one of the reasons I like Dorothy's articles and a few other people, including Sarah Johnston, if you guys can tag them, that'll be great, because it's like I forget, um, Bob McIntosh, Sarah Johnston, um, and one of the reasons why I'm sorry, I lose my train of thought. One of the reasons why it's difficult here is the classic old dog new tricks. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can. It depends on what your teachability index is. What is your teachability index? Who doesn't love a good formula? Like, who doesn't love nerding out and geeking out? Like, I do. Okay. Your willingness to learn multiplied by your willingness to change equals to teachability index. The higher it is, the better it is. That is right. That is, all of this is mentioned in that article by Dorothy Dalton. So if you just go to Google and write what is your teachability score, it's one of the first results in the SEO. So you're going to see that, which I think is really, really interesting. Okay. So if you want to know more about ageism, check that out. Also go to Google and just write my name and write ageism, and you're going to find a lot of interesting things here. Are we having 10 years experience or having 10 times 1 year experience? Yeah. The progression matters a lot. You're very right. You're very right. Amazing. Oh, Varsha, thank you for tagging them. They're gonna be like, what's going on here? Really, really cool. Uh, thank you. You guys are awesome. What about people who feel behind even in their 20s? Ajay, that's a great point. So that's what I talked about. That is the whole you're too young, right? So what you want to do is you want to here too young, the novice penalty. You want to showcase your experiences even outside the workplace, which are relevant to the roles you're interested in, projects, internships, even like, be creative, right? Let's say you grew up in a house which has I don't know, joint family, grandparents, parents, children, cousins. Maybe there was a very, I don't know, there were a lot of constraints. How did you make it work? Show the transferability of your experiences to the position you're applying to. It's possible. You just have to believe it, because when you're showing all of that and you don't believe it, then how will you expect the other person to believe it, right? You got to believe it yourself. So I wanted to talk about teachability score. I wanted to talk about the index, which is really interesting. And there's so many examples. I'm loving that you're adding them in the comments, um, about people who have done well, like, or who have peaked, right, later in life. And I'm putting later in quotes. One last thing I want to say is, and then I'm going to end the live stream. That's a great point, Laurie. Mentor, looking for a good mentor. And learnability is just, yeah, it's it is so underrated, right? And now I think that we have a problem in society, right? It's usually physical beauty, it's age, or it's gender. The thing is, physical beauty, gender, technically you can change. You can't change your age. You can change your race, you can change wrinkles. I mean, listen, I don't judge anyone, right? Let's not judge anyone. You want to put your best foot forward and have a little Botox thing done, whatever makes you happy, do it. But there is no two ways about it. We cannot reverse aging, no matter what Deepak Chopra says. you, you can, but you can't reverse that you're getting older, right? You might as well just embrace it. Um, and then I think the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is think a little bit about why you're better off today. What do you what can you do now that you could not do before? I'm 43 today. I couldn't, there's no way in hell I could think about, for example, like live streaming. Just the thought would make my palms sweat. I used to watch a couple of people live streaming. They were all pretty famous. And I was like, oh, I could never do that. I don't understand how the tech works. What about confidence? What about making a fool of yourself? I've been there, done that. Look at me. Like look at me, okay? And birthday. I'm cringing. This is not easy for me. Don't like being center of attention. But who cares? What can you do now that you could not do before? Think about it. It doesn't matter how old you are. There's certain things you can only acquire through age and experience. And what have you learned now that you did not know before? What could you do? What can you learn? So, for example, for me, confidence is a big one. Another one, which I don't know if this will resonate with you. What I have noticed is as I get older, I have a very interesting relationship with patience. Why? Patience, not TSCE, patience. um, I have noticed that I don't have patience to argue with people who I think are going down some downward spiral, some rabbit hole somewhere, and I wish them well. I don't have patience. I might take some popcorn and watch them kill themselves, attack each other brutally on social media. I might be that person quietly because I'm learning a lot about what not to do. But I will not get involved anymore. Why? I think I've noticed that I'm losing patience with myself, with them, with those type of things. And then on the other hand, something that's really interesting is I'm becoming more patient with my own, like, failures, flaws, what people are saying, self-care, self-love, more patience, right? So think about what do you know now that you didn't know before? What have you learned now that you didn't learn before? Because knowing is not enough. Knowing it, learning it, and applying it are not the same thing. And when you do the thing that you couldn't do before, that's amazing, right? And I'm not just talking about like skills which are like tangible, but also skills that are difficult to discern, right? Confidence, patience, etc. Hopefully this has been interesting for you. It comes with time. You're absolutely right. There's research that shows, for example, new languages. Yeah, the teachability index is a real wonderful thing. I really, really recommend that you check that article out. If any of you knows which one I'm talking about because you saw it on Google, just feel free to put it in the comments right here. Otherwise, I'll add it. Not a problem. Yeah. Oh my God, that is so true, G. I completely agree with you. Thank you, Kasturi. This is my son's hat. I couldn't see anything which looked like a party hat. So I was like, yeah, it's better than it's better than nothing. Age shaming. There's so much shaming going on. You just wish them well, Gotham. Wish them well. Keep your dignity intact. Move on. That's my. For some people, it's not enough. They want to get in because they're like, I don't have patience with you. I'm going to argue with you. Listen, you pick your battles, right? Because changing and shaming, there's only so much. All right, listen, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining. I wanted to just do a quick reminder because last week we were live with a fantastic leadership performance coach called Helen Dunnett. Unfortunately, LinkedIn wasn't cooperating, so it's there on just see a couple of posts we before this one. It's a fantastic session I did, and it was live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to have her back in January and we're going to talk about the art and science of giving feedback. So that was amazing. Last week was a big week as well. So if anybody's like actively looking around for, making a resume that is going to get them a good opportunity in 2022, I've launched the resume course. It's something that was a big thing on my to-do list and it's done. So if you're interested, go to superchargeyourself.com/resume course. It's out there in the world. And next week will be 100 weeks. Wow. I thought about like a big celebration and invite all the guests. I don't know if that's gonna. I haven't planned anything. I don't think it's gonna work. I haven't had the energy to do it. But I'll tell you what. There's one thing which is very underrated and it's very meta, and I'm gonna talk about it next week. Whether you're job hunting, whether you have a new business, whether you have an old business, whether you're happily employed, one thing that's very underused is live streaming. I'm going to talk about live streaming during a live stream. If you're interested to understand why live streaming is so crucial today and how you can start in little baby steps, then please join me on week 100 of Supercharge Fridays. So, yeah, till then, I I want to say thank you for being with me, helping me celebrate my birthday. Thank you so much. Uh, Kenneth, Noel, Varsha, you guys are amazing. Just, I want to end with this thought that I started if in case you're joining late, I'm so happy you're here, right? This is my parting thought with you. Be blessed. Be blessed. Be that person who gives without remembering and receives without forgetting. This has been such a pleasure, such an honor. Thank you for being part of my day, and take care of yourselves and see you next week. Be safe, and until next time.